Okay. In the last class, we have discussed about array list. Array list. So, what are the advantages of array list? We have seen so many advantages. The main advantage is it is a linked list implementation. So, where you don't have to specify any size in the programming environment. The number of locations would be generated dynamically at runtime. You can keep on adding n number of elements. There is no limitation. You can add n number of elements, as many elements as you need, as you want. That is the best advantage of array list. At the same time, we also have identified one disadvantage with the array list. That is, array list is not a type safe collection. Array list is not a type safe collection. It means your data type will not be safe. Basically, the beauty of array list is it allows you to store any type of data. Basically, in array, you can hold collection of elements of only same data type. But in array list, you can hold collection of elements of different data types. There is a good advantage, but at the same time, there is one more disadvantage. What is that? It is not a type safe collection. Your data will not be stored in the original format. Internally, data will not be stored in the original format. It allows you to store any type of data, but internally it will be converted into object format. Let's say I entered integer. I have inserted integer into my collection. Internally, it will not be stored in the form of integer. It will be converted into object format and it will be stored in the form of object. So my data type has been changed. It has been converted into object type format. So when you try to pull your integer, it is not going to come in the form of integer because internally it has been stored in the form of object. So everything will be written in the form of an object. So in order to see your original value, so what has to be done? Again, that object has to be converted into your integer type. So as we discussed yesterday, converting integer to object or value type to reference type. The process of converting value type to reference type is called as boxing, and the reverse processing. The process of converting object type to integer, a reference type to value type is called as unboxing. So in case of array list, you can store collection of elements of different data types. You can store any type of data, but internally each and everything will be converted into object type. Everything will be stored in the form of object type. When you try to pull your data is not going to come in the original format. So again, it has to be converted explicitly into the respective data type. So a lot of conversions will take place. The boxing and unboxing will take place. That will degrade performance of your application. So that's why what C# has done, the good advantage is it is a linked list implementation. You don't have to specify any size. You can save a lot of memory. And the disadvantage is it's not a type safe collection. If you could make it type safe, you can see a lot of benefits over. That's why what C# has done to overcome the problem of array list. That is one of the advantage. What is the advantage? You can store n number of elements, a collection of elements of different data types. But another disadvantage is your type won't be safe. Internally, it will not be stored in the original format. It will be converted into some other format. That is the reason conversions will come into the picture. So a lot of conversions will be done internally. So sometimes that might degrade performance of your application. So that is the reason what C# has done to overcome this problem. They have provided one alternate option. They have implemented one more powerful collection linked list implementation that is called list. When you talk about a list is very similar to array list. List is very similar to array list. But the difference between array list and list is array list is not a type safe collection, whereas list is a type safe collection. List is also one of the linked list implementation. You don't have to specify any size within the programming environment. You can keep on adding n number of elements. Number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime, so there will be no memory wastage. And another advantage is it is a type safe collection. It is a type safe collection. Your type will be safe. Data will be stored in the original format. So no conversion is required. But the type of data which is going to be stored into your collection should be defined at the time of declaration. It allows you to store collection of elements of similar data type. Some part of this nature is very similar to your array. In case of array also, the type of data has to be defined at the time of declaration. Once it is defined, it is going to hold only collection of elements of the same data type. So it is also very similar. But what is the difference between these two? In case of array, the size should be defined in the programming environment. The number of locations are going to be fixed. If you don't utilize all those locations, there you will see a lot of memory wastage. But here, it is a linked list implementation where you don't have to specify any size. Size will be calculated automatically. Even number of locations would also be generated automatically and dynamically at runtime by the system. But coming to nature of list, it will be very similar to your array. Even the type of list should also be defined at the time of declaration. Once the type is defined, it is going to have only collection of elements of similar data type. Okay. So list is also called as a generic because it is a type safe and it is a dynamic type safe list. Dynamic type safe list. Dynamic means the number of locations and the size of collections would be taken dynamically at runtime. That's why we are calling it as it is a generic component. So Microsoft is providing one more base class library, that is system.collections.generics.dll. It comes with one namespace, that is system.collections.generic namespace. This namespace comes with set of classes. One of them is list. List is a class which comes with set of methods. Some of them are add, remove, and count. Whenever you want to insert a new item into your list, you have to call add. It will be very similar to your array list. Same, there also we have seen same methods, add, remove, count. There will be some other methods also, but these are very, very important methods. Whenever you want to insert a new item can be a single integer or string or class, an object or group of elements. Whenever you want to insert a new item, you'll have to call add method. This will take care of adding a new item into the collection, and it adds only one item at a time, and there is no limit, there is no end limit for your collection. You can keep on adding n number of elements. If you want to remove an existing item from your collection, you'll have to call remove method. If you want to know the size of your collection, I'd like to know how many elements are there in my collection, then you'll have to call count method. So it will be very similar to the implementation process, and everything is very similar to your array list. The only difference between array and array list is not a type safe collection and list is a type safe collection. In case of array list, you can store collection of elements of different data types, but in case of list, you can store only similar data types. But the common point between these two is array list is a linked list implementation and list is also one of the linked list implementation. So where you don't have to specify any size, how many elements to be stored or how many locations to be created in your common memory. So that you don't have to specify. So that will be taken care by your list as well as array list. So let's try to implement a simple example for list. So this is our array list concept, right? So as I said, list is very similar to array list. I'm just going to change the class name. That's it. Just commenting out array list. List. See, it comes with less than and greater than symbol. What is this? In case of list, it is a dynamic component, but the thing is, it is a type safe. The type of element that is going to be stored into your collection should be mentioned at the time of declaration. Once it is defined, it is going to accept only that similar data elements. So here I'm going to store collection of movie names. So what is the type of my variable? It is going to be string. List string movies is equal to new. That's it. Now it creates an object, a common location with the name movies. Same thing. So I'd like to store movie name as well as revenue. That I'm trying to modify that same previous example. I'm not modifying anything except this. Same. There is no end limit for your collection. That is the reason. Just better get the choice from the user. Like would you like to add one more element? Would you like to add one more element? So keep repeating your loop till he says true. Once he says false, just come out from your loop. Stop the process. It will ask user to enter a movie name. It reads the movie name, and it also asks you it also asks user to enter the amount collected for that day, and reads that into a revenue variable. So once the data is ready, now what has to be done? That has to be inserted into your collection. In order to insert an item into the collection, you have to call add method. What is your collection name? Movies. Movies dot add off. Here you can insert anything. It can be a single variable. It can be a complete data row. It can be an object. It can be a class. It can be a structure. Okay, so basically you can insert only one item at a time, but item can be a simple variable or a complex variable or custom data type or class object, a complete data row. Here we are just concatenating movie name with revenue. So this complete thing is going to be stored as a single data element. Next, once it is inserted, now get the choice from the user. Do you want to add one more movie? So based on this choice, you'll have to repeat your loop for one more time. If you say yes, read that choice. Obviously, it checks the condition. If choice gets matched, if choice is equal to yes, again it will go inside of the loop and ask user to enter one more item that will be inserted into your collection. If he says no, what will happen? So the choice is going to have the value no, which is not going to be matched. So it will just come out of the loop. And writing process. Console.writeLine movies which has collected more than 20k cross. Same example. I took just one array. Here instead of for, I'm using for each. In case of list also, the internal representation is going to be very similar to your array and array list. In case of list also, data will be stored based on index. So if you want, you can use for loop. The internal representation of both array list and array list are very similar to your array. In all the three collections, the data will be stored based on index. It means always the first location will be available at 0th index, and the last one is going to be available at n-1th index. So if you want to supply index to get your value, probably you can use for loop. It should start from 0 and it has to be repeated up to end limit. How do you calculate the end limit? So if you want to know the size of your collection, you'll have to call count method, and every time it has to be incremented with 1. This is one option. And the other alternate option is, if you're just going to print the elements, if at all you are not going to do any process, in that case, better make use of for each instead of for. In case of for each, you don't have to specify where to start, where to end, and what is the variation between each. You don't have to specify all these three parts. You just need to specify the type of the element which has been stored in your collection. So what is the type of the element that has been stored in our collection? String. String, some variable name in your collection name, movies. That's it. So what it will do, internally this will also make use of for, but externally you don't have to specify anything. So it will reduce a little burden on the developer. It will also reduce some development effort. Basically, whenever you want to write a loop, you need to calculate these three parts, where to start, where to end, and what is the variation between each iteration. So that kind of burden will be reduced on the developer, and kind of complexity will also be reduced. Here you need to write three parts, where in case of for each, you don't have to write all those three parts. A little complexity will also be reduced. Okay, so here you just need to specify only the type of the element in collection name. That's it. Every time it will go to the collection and pick one different element. That's it. You just need to print that element. But here we are doing some process, like, because while storing, this movie name and revenue will be stored as a single element, and we are splitting these two with hash. That is the reason, while fetching it back to our process, again we are splitting. Here we are separating it with hash. That's why we are splitting these two values with hash. So once you split it, it generates an array that is going to be stored into movie revenue. It is going to have two values. The first value is movie name, second value is revenue. So first value will be available at 0th index and second value will be available at first index. Here we need to check the revenue. That is we are taking second value, movies of 1. If this is greater than 20,000, then only the movie name has to be displayed. This is what we have discussed yesterday, right? So I did not make any changes anywhere. I just changed this array list to list. That's it. As I said, list also comes with similar type of functionalities like add, remove, out, count. Whenever you want to insert a new item, you're allowed to use add method. When you want to remove an existing item, you have to call remove method. If you want to know the size of your collection, you have to call count method. Any questions, guys, so far? So we already discussed this logic and all in the last class. That is the reason, I'm not explaining all these things again. Okay, let's run it once. Please enter a movie name. So you can keep on adding n number of elements. Do you want to add? Yes, as long as you say yes, it allows you to add a number of elements. Yes. So as long as you're saying yes, it will just push it forward to next. Once you say no, it will just come out. See, movies which has collected more than 20K graphs. Okay. So this is something about your list. We have seen so many advantages in case of array list, array and list. And at the same time, we also have seen few disadvantages for. The beauty of array list and list is These are linked list implementation. You don't have to worry about the number of locations to be created inside the collection. You can add a number of elements based on your requirement. You don't have to define any size. But the problem with all these three collections, array, array list, and list, there are so many advantages, but at the same time, there is one biggest disadvantage identified with these three collections. What is that? In all the three collections, always the data will be stored based on index. In all the three collections, always the data will be stored based on index. Whenever you want to pull a particular item, you'll have to supply that respective index. When you want to pull any particular item, you'll have to supply the respective index. When you talk about an index, index is a mathematical number. Okay, guys, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Okay, sorry, I lost the connection. So I just connected through the mobile net. Okay. So you can take any collection, array, array list, or list. In all the three collection, the common problem is, in all the three collection, the common problem that we have identified is the data will always be stored based on index. Whenever you want to, let's say, if at all your array having some 1000 elements, the first element will be available at 0th position and last one is going to be located at n-1th position. So you will see the last one at 999 position. In between 0 and 999, if at all you want to pull a particular item, then you will have to supply that respective index. When you talk about index, index is a mathematical number like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say the best example is there are 100 members in your class. If I ask you to call roll number 28, what will you do? You cannot recognize that person immediately. You'll have to spend some time, like, you'll have to think of, like, who is rule number 22. If you are not aware of that person, you'll have to start searching for that person. You have to ask your friend, like, who is rule number 22, rule number 22. Rather than giving you the roll number, if I ask you to call Mr. Prakash, so what will happen? You'll be able to recognize that person immediately. Oh, Prakash. If there are 3 Prakashes, also you can recognize it immediately. Right? If I ask you to call roll number 34, will you be able to recognize that person immediately? No. If it's really your good friend, you are aware of the roll number, then you can recognize it immediately. But if I ask you to call a person which you don't know, so in that case, if I ask you to call that person with a roll number, so it will be very difficult to recognize the person immediately. But if I ask you to call the person with the name, if I ask you to call Mr. Prakash, you'll be able to recognize that person immediately, right? So yeah, when you talk about a roll number, it's a mathematical figure. Here also same thing. Whenever you want to pull any item from your array, always you'll have to supply an index. Index is a mathematical number. If you supply some incorrect number, so what will happen? It pulls incorrect data, right? So when you talk about index, index is a mathematical number. It is very difficult to remember that index. Always you cannot remember the index of the element. If you are failed to supply that correct index, that leads to incorrect data. You always end up with pulling some incorrect data because the data is being stored based on index. The data is being stored based on index. Index is a mathematical number. If you do not supply that correct index, that will never pull correct data. Okay, so like your rule number. If I ask you to call a person with a rule number, it will be very difficult. But if I ask you to call a person with a name, it will become much more simpler. So that is the reason. In case of array, array list and list, the data is being stored based on index. That leads to a problem because always you'll have to remember whenever you want to pull a particular item, always you'll have to remember the index of that particular item. If you want to pull it, you'll have to supply the respective index. If you supply incorrect index, it pulls incorrect data. There will always be a problem. To avoid this problem, so what has to be done? Rather than storing your data based on index, the index has to be avoided. In case of index, you'll have to use some name, some key. If you could store your data based on key, so you don't have to worry about your index. You don't have to worry about that mathematical number. If you could store your data based on key, whenever you want to pull any item, you just need to supply a key. Key can be anything. It can be your name. It can be a theater name. It can be object name. It can be any name. Basically, it's not going to be a mathematical number. It is going to be a name. So this is one of the disadvantages identified with your collection. To overcome this problem, so what has to be done? Rather than storing your data based on index, so what has to be done? Your data has to be stored based on some key. Your data has to be stored based on some key. In case of array, array list and list, we are not specifying any index while storing the data. The index will be generated automatically by the component system. There you don't have any control over allocating the address of the location. The control will be given to your array, array list and list. The address of the location will be generated automatically by your array, array list and list components. There you don't have any control over. So that is the reason it generates some index internally. That is the reason the data will be stored based on index. That index will be generated by the system. So if you want to store your data based on some key, so you'll have to take the control over. Okay. So the biggest disadvantage of all these three collections is the data will be stored based on index. Whenever you want to pull a particular item, you'll have to supply the respective index that item. If you do not supply the correct index, you cannot expect correct data in your case. It doesn't pull correct data, it pulls incorrect data. Because we are supposed to pull the data of 102 index. If you supply 103, so whatever is there in the 103 location, only that data will be pulled back into our process. So that's why if you do not supply correct index, it will not pull correct data. Okay, so that leads to a problem. To avoid this problem, what has to be done? So your data has to be stored based on some keys. Your data has to be stored based on some keys. So that's what C# has done. So whatever the disadvantage that we have seen in these three collections, to overcome this problem, C# has introduced another powerful collection that is called HashTable. that is called hash table. When you talk about hash table is also one of the linked list collection. Hash table is also one of the linked list implementation where you don't have to specify any size. Number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime. This is one of the best advantage of the collection. And there is one more advantage, that is in hash table, data will not be stored based on index. Data will always be stored based on some key. And that key is not going to be generated by the system. That key should be specified by the user. What do you want to have? Please provide the key name for your data. So that should be provided explicitly by the user. So your data will always be stored based on some key. So each entry of this collection is going to be the combination of key and value pair. What is the key name and what is the value to be associated with that key? So always the value will be stored based on key. Whenever you want to pull any particular item, now you don't have to supply any index. You just need to supply the key name. Let's say I would like to store all movie names based on some key. Your key name is going to be theater name. Key name is going to be theater name. Let's say theater name Satyam. Your key is going to be theater name, value is going to be movie name. Let's say Satyam. And which movie is playing in Satyam? Let's say Ega. IMAX, Spider-Man. INAX, Iron Man. So whenever you want to pull the value of any item, you just need to supply the respective key, not the index. If I say IMAX, so whatever the value is associated with IMAX will be pulled back into your process. If I say INAX, so whatever the value that has been stored based on this key, so what is the values associated with this, that value will be pulled. So you don't have to worry about index. You just need to supply a key name. It is a collection of characters. It can be anything. The key can have collection of only non-numerical values or collection of both, combination of both numerical and non-numerical values. Anything can be possible. But ultimately, we avoided index concept here. We are able to store our data based on some key. It is not a mathematical number. It is a name, right? So in this case, you can see very good performance, and you don't have to remember, you don't have to worry about the index process. Whenever you want to pull any item, you just need to supply only that respective key. Any questions, guys, so far? So when you talk about hash table, as I said, so Microsoft is providing one base class library, that is system.collections.dll. It comes with set of namespaces. One of them is system.collections namespace. When you talk about this namespace, it comes with set of classes. We have already seen one of them, that is ArrayList. Apart from ArrayList, it also comes with one more class, that is HashTable. When you talk about HashTable, it comes with 3 different methods. Same methods: add, remove, and count. Whenever you want to insert a new item into your HashTable collection, you'll have to call add method. And if you want to remove an existing one, call remove. If you want to know the size of your collection, you'll have to call count. And when you talk about add, it insert only one item at a time. That item is going to be the combination of key value pair. As I said, each entry of your collection, each entry of HashTable is going to be a combination of key value pair. For each and every value, you should specify the respective key. If it doesn't provide any key, by default non-value will be considered. Coming to key should be unique. Key should be unique. So only one null value will be accepted. If you try to provide another item without a key, what will happen? it will try to take one more null value. So already we have already stored one null value. If you try to insert one more null value, so what will happen? Your key is going to be duplicated. So every time whenever you insert a new key, before inserting that into the collection, every time it will be compared against all the existing items to make sure there are no duplicate keys. It always accepts only unique key. Okay, so in that way you can bring some uniqueness to your collection. You can stop storing, you can avoid storing duplicate values in your collection. Duplicate keys, value can be duplicate, you can store any type of value, but key should be unique. But ultimately, end of the day, you are going to access your elements with the help of key. That is the reason if you store duplicate keys, if I say Satyam, if there are 100 Satyam, so what will happen? System doesn't know which Satyam has to be pulled back. So that is the reason it maintains a uniqueness in the collection. So that uniqueness comes through your key. It accepts only a unique key. Always, every time whenever you insert a new item, every time it will be compared against all the existing keys to make sure there are no duplicates. If there is no same key is available in the collection, then only it will be added to your collection. Otherwise, it throws some error message saying that duplicate item found. Okay, so let's try to implement a simple example of HashTable. HashTable some HT movie collection is equal to new HashTable. And one more good advantage of HashTable is, the first advantage is it is a linked list implementation. Second advantage is a data will be stored based on key, not on the index. And third advantage is HashTable is also not a type safe collection. One way it is advantage, in another way it is disadvantage. What is the first way? If it is not a type safe collection, you don't have to worry about your data type. You can store any type of data, right? In another way, if it is not a type safe, your data will not be stored in the original format. So in one way it is advantage, in another way it will be considered as disadvantage. Okay, so when you talk about HashTable is also not a type safe collection, is a non-type safe collection. It means you can store any type of data. It allows you to store any type of key, any type of value. It allows you to store collection of keys of different data types, collection of values of different data types. So you don't have to worry about the data type. And as I said, it is a linked list implementation. You don't even have to specify the size. You don't have to tell the system like how many locations to be created in your common shapes location. So because it is a linked list implementation, it can keep on adding n number of elements. The moment when you try to insert an element, that time only the location would be generated dynamically at runtime. So you don't have to worry about the size since it is the linked list implementation. And it is also not it is a non-type safe collection. So even you don't have to worry about your data type. You can store any type of key, any type of value, any type of value, and a combination of multiple data types and a combination of multiple values of different data types. So I defined my hash table. Now whenever you want to insert a new item, you will have to call add method of this class HT movie collection dot add. But as I said, it is not going to be a single value. Each entry of your hash table is going to have both key as well as value. Always the value has to be stored based on some key. So whenever you want to store any value, you should also supply that respective key. Always your value will be stored based on that respective key. So here my key in my example, here I would like to store collection of movie names, but my key is going to be theater name. I'd like to store that theater name and the list of movies which are playing in that particular theater. So here my key name is going to be theater name. Let's say some IMAX, and value is going to be movie name, Spider-Man. So this is my value. What is my value? Spider-Man. Now it is getting stored based on key. What is the key name? IMAX. So whenever I want to pull, when you want to know like which movie is playing in IMAX theater, now you don't have to supply any index. Just supply the theater name. So whatever the value is associated with this, it pulls the respective value. Okay. Now I would like to make it dynamic. I don't want to hard code these values. Let's give this control to the user. Let them enter his requirement. Okay. So for this, I'm going to define two variables. One for capturing the key value, key name, and one for capturing movie name. String theater name. String movie name. Okay. Now, as I said, in case of array list, list, and HashTable, these are all linked list implementations. There is no end limit. You cannot even specify where to stop, right? So that is the reason you'll have to structure your logic logically based on some choice. So that is the reason I defined a variable called choice. Based on this choice, you'll have to decide whether that loop has to be repeated for one more time or not. So let's give this choice to the control, let's give this control to the end user. Ask him to enter the choice. If choice is equal to yes, if choice is equal to yes, initially we are setting it to y, because at least we'll have to ask him to at least one, you'll have to ask him to enter at least one element. That is the reason initially we are setting this value to y, so it will go to this loop at least once, and once it comes to the next iteration, now ask him to enter the choice whether you want to add one more element or not. So then also if we say yes, it will be repeated for one more time, otherwise it will just come out of the loop. So if the choice is equal to yes, now you'll have to ask him to enter an element. This element is going to have two things: movie name, theater name, and movie name. A theater name is going to be yes. A theater name is going to be key and movie name is going to be value. So console dot write line, please enter theater name and movie name. We're asking him to enter these two at a time. Now theater name has to be stored into theater name variable. Console dot read line, and movie name has to be stored into movie name variable is equal to console dot read line. Yes, he has entered the first element, has mentioned the key as well as value. Now what has to be done? This entry has to be inserted into your collection. What is your collection name? HT movie collection. Whenever you want to insert a new item, you'll have to call add method. It takes two parameters. The first parameter is going to be your key and second parameter is going to be value. What is the key? Theater name, and value is going to be movie name. Okay, it's done. First element has been inserted. Now ask user to enter the choice. Like, do you want to add one more element? If you say yes, go ahead and repeat your loop for one more time and ask him to enter one more element and insert that into your collection. If you say no, just quit your process. Just come out of your loop. So always you should get the choice from the user. Console dot write line. Do you want to add one more movie? A theater. Say yes or no. Obviously, once you see this message, you will enter either Y or N. So you'll have to read the choice entered by the user. You'll have to read the choice entered by the user. So then only you'll be able to conclude. So choice is equal to console dot read line. If you say yes, so what will happen? Choice is going to have Y. Again, it validates the condition. If choice is equal to Y, it will go inside of the loop. Again, it repeats this action for one more time. If you say no, it will just come out of the loop. So this loop will be repeated till the condition is Y. Once the condition becomes false, it will just come out of the loop. Next, how to print these elements? Now we have stored collection of theaters and the movies playing in the theaters in our hash table. Now whenever users select the theater name, right? If you are going to book tickets online, so what you will do? First you will select the theater name. Once you select the theater name, so whatever the movies associated with that particular theater or whatever the movies that are playing in that particular theater will get listed out there, right? Here also same thing. So what is the theater name key? If I select that theater name, so all movie names should be displayed over, right? So if I just pause key, the respective value should be pulled. So as I said, in case of hash table, the data will be stored based on key. Whenever you want to pull the particular value, the respective key has to be supplied. Okay. So here, how to implement a search process? So whenever you want to search any item, you'll have to ask user to enter the key. What is the key? Theater name. So you'll have to ask user to select the theater name. Once you select the theater name, go to your collection and search for that respective value based on the key theater name. So how to do that? So first you'll have to ask user to enter the search parameter. What is that? String search key. What is the search key? A search key is going to be your theater name. So that has to come from the end user. You'll have to ask user to select the theater name. So console dot write line, please enter theater name. So once you enter the theater name, so read that what has to be searched. Okay, so your user has selected the theater. Now what has to be done? Go to your collection and start searching for this particular theater. So how to do that? So what is your collection name? It's T movies collection. So as I said, whenever you want to pull any value, you just need to supply only key. What is the key here? Search key. So what it will do? Once you provide the key, it will go to this collection and start searching for this particular key. So once it is identified, so whatever is stored with this key combination, so whatever is associated with this key, so that respective value will be returned by your collection. So here I'm just printing console dot write line, movies. Please select the movie name from the below list. Search key. So this is going to return the movie list. A search key is theater. So our theater is nothing but key name. So whatever the value is associated with that particular key, so that it is going to return that value. That value will have all movie names. Yeah, just in case of, as I said, HashTable is not a type safe collection. So the internal the value will be stored in the object format. That's why every time whenever you try to pull your value, every time that object type has to be converted into original type. That's why you have to use .toString. It just converts. So your value is going to be written in the form of an object. It just converts that object into string format. Let's run this example. See, if you look into your collection, now it is empty. The count is 0. Right? Now we're going to ask user to enter names. Please enter theater name and movie name. It's a theater name Satyam and movie name Spider-Man. Sorry. Do you want to add one more item? No, I'll run it again. Okay, please enter theater name and movie name. Theater name Satyam, movie name Spider-Man. Do you want to add one more theater? Yes. IMAX. Movie name. In IMAX there will be multiple screens, right? So one theater can play more than one movie. Let's say here you can see Spider-Man and one more movie, Iron Man 2 and Ega. Do you want one item? Yes. Cineplex. So like this you can add a number of items. I said no. Now you can see your collection. See how it looks like. We added 3 items. See, this is key and this is value. IMAX, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Ega. You can store not only a string. Each value can be any data type. It can be single value. It can be a collection. Again, it can be, even you could also store a complete array list as a value. A complete array as a value. So value can be anything. It can be a single value or collection or class object. So, but basically every value has to be associated with that respective key. So the value should always be stored based on only key. So IMAX and the value is this. Cineplex value is this. Satyam value is this. So whenever you want to pull any value, you just need to supply that respective key. If I supply Cineplex, so what it will do? It always search the data based on key. If you supply Cineplex, it will just go to your collection and start searching for this key. So once the key is identified, so whatever is associated with this particular key, that value will be returned. Okay, now we are going to implement such process. Now we are going to ask user to enter the theater name. Once you enter the theater name, just go to your collection and start searching for the theater. and whatever the movie list is associated with that particular theater, particular key, that has to be returned back to the user. Let's say I'm going to enter IMAX. See, please select the movie name from the below list. Spider-Man, Iron Man 2, E. Okay, so if you want to display that movie list one by one, again you'll have to write some logic. So how do you write it? You'll have to split it. You'll have to split that. So how do you split it? First search for your this. Define an array of type string movie list. Right? So here our values, here we have stored only one value, a string, but we have provided all the movie names with a comma separated value, right? So we have separated all the movies list with a comma. So that's why if you want to get them one by one and display them in a separate line, so what has to be done? It has to be split with that respective delimiter. There it is separated with comma, so our delimiter is comma. So if you want to split them, again you have to tell the system how to split it. So how it is separated, it is come with comma, hash, or whatever it is. So the delimiter has to be specified over. Movie list is equal to. So this is going to return a comma separated string which contains list of movies. I'm going to split this comma separated string. How it is separated? It was separated with comma. So finally what it will do? If at all your string is having comma separated value, it will split. It will split that string with comma. So it is going to generate multiple values. Let's say the string contains 3 values separated with comma. So if you split them, what will happen? It is going to return 3 different values. So those 3 values are going to be stored into one of the array. So based on that number of values that are going to come from the right side, it creates those many locations internally. It will keep each value inside one separate location. So if your string is going to return 3 different values, your array is going to have 3 different locations. And all those 3 values will be stored into 3 different locations respectively. So now you can print your values one by one from the list. I'm going to use for each. What is the type of element? String. As in what is our list? Movie list. If you want, you can use array. Console dot write line. You just need to display only S. That's it. So first movie name will be displayed. Next second movie, next third, next fourth. Please enter theater name. So what happened? Did I say no? Oh, sorry. Yes. And I said no. Now we are going to search process. Please enter theater name to be searched. Let's say I entered IMAX. See, please select the movie name from the below list. The Garage, Spider-Man, Iron Man 3, Titanic. So we have stored this value as a comma separated string, right? See in the IMAX. Here you can see. Right? But while displaying it, you'll have to apply some process to split that string into respective. Right? That is the reason here we separated this value with comma. We have used the delimiter as comma. That's why when you split it back to previous value, so original value, so what has to be done? The same delimiter has to be used to split them into multiple values. So that is the reason I just split the value using comma. That's why it has generated these many values. Janata Garage, Spider-Man, Iron Man 3 and Titanic. So each value is nothing but one movie name. Any questions guys so far? So this is a way how you need to search all your keys in hash table. Okay, here we are going to pull a particular value from your hash table. We know how to pull a particular element from your hash table. Now I'd like to display all elements of my hash table collection. So whatever is available in the collection, all those elements are to be displayed over. So how to pull all elements from your collection? Because like your array, your data is not being stored based on index. So you cannot use index, like it should start from 0. It has to be repeated up to these many times. You cannot use that. Okay, you should always supply only key. So here you can use for each. What is the type of your element? If at all you want to use for each, as I said, you don't have to specify those three parts like where to start, where to end, and variation, but you should specify the type of element which has been stored in your collection, right? It is a int string or anything. But here also same thing. If at all you want to pull your collection items using for each, here also you need to specify the type of your collection item. So what is the type of my hash table item? It is integer, character, float, or string. See, when you talk about hash table, each element of hash table is going to have the combination of key and value. It's not a single value. Each element internally, it will have key and value pairs. Key can be any data type, value can be any data type. Let's say in one of the scenario, my key is integer and value is string. In that case, what needs to be specified over here? What is the type of your item? Is it integer or string? My key type is integer, value type is string. Now what do you specify over? Is it integer or string? So it will be very difficult because each element is going to have two different things. One is key, one is value. So key data type can be different from value. It may or may not be same. So that is the reason to accommodate these two, what C# has done, they have designed a special data type to accommodate key value pair of hash table, that is called dictionary entry. Dictionary entry. So each item of your hash table is nothing but one dictionary entry. What is the type of hash table entry? Is a dictionary entry which is nothing but combination of key and value pair. Okay. Each element of your dictionary will be considered as a dictionary entry. Each element of your hash table will be considered as a dictionary entry. So which will have both key and value. So you don't have to worry about it now. Right? So you can store any type of key, any type of value, but whenever you want to pull any item from your hash table, so what type needs to be mentioned? The type of element, not the type of key, not the type of value. Type of element. Internal that element will have key and value. Key can be of any data type and value can be of any data type. Right? That's why you don't have to specify the key type or value type. You'll have to specify the element of hash table type. That is, what is the type of hash table element? Dictionary entry. Dictionary entry, some DE in your collection name. What's your collection name? My collection name is STMovie collection. Okay. So now each entry is called as dictionary entry. So what it will do, every time it will go to your collection, pick one different entry. So each entry will have combination of key value pair. So each entry will have key as well as value. Here key is nothing but data name, value is nothing but movie name. So console dot write line, theater name is nothing but key. So de dot key dot to string movie name is nothing but d dot value. Okay, so as I said, each entry is going to be the combination of key value for. So it will go to your collection and every time it picks one different element and keeps in DE. Now DE will have both key and value. A directory's name is nothing but key and movie name is nothing but value. So if I say DE dot key, it returns key name. Key name is nothing but theater name. I'm just displaying theater name as key and movie name as value. So what it will do, so for each and every time it will go to a different location and picks that entry, keeps in DE, so that is going to be displayed over. So console dot write line, theaters and movies list. No, see, this is my collection. Now my collection contains 3 entries. So what your for each will do, first it will go to first location and picks the first entry, keeps in D. Next it will go to second location, picks the second entry. In the same way, so it will go to all the locations and every time it will perform that same kind of exercise. Just press F11 to see your live execution process. See, it keeps in D. Now you can see that in D. See, D will have only one item. So it has picked one item. Each entry will have, each dictionary entry will have key and value. Key is nothing but theater name, value is nothing but movie name. So if you say de.key, this is going to be theater and this is going to be value. See, here you can see theaters and movie list. Theater name IMAX, movie name Janta Kyara Spider-Man. Theater name Cinemax, movie name theater name Satyam, movie name Ika. Any questions, guys? I need answers from everyone. Any questions about array list, hash table? Okay. See here, have you observed one thing here? While feeding data into our collection, see, first we have entered Satyam, right? First we have entered Satyam, then we have entered IMAX, then we entered Cinemax. Do you think these elements are stored in the same order? In the same way that we have entered? See, first it has written IMAX, but we entered it as a second element. Then it has written Cinemax, and lastly it has written Satyam. The best advantage of HashTable is it is not a types of collection and data will be stored based on key. There is one minor disadvantage. What is that? Data will not be arranged in any order. You cannot expect the data to be stored in the same order the way you enter. The data will not be stored in the sequence order because it will not maintain any order while storing data into the collection. If you want your data has to be arranged in some particular order, if you want that has to be sorted while storing it, then your approach should be towards another collection that is called sorted list. That is called sorted list. When you talk about sorted list is one of the implementation of hash table where you will see same functionalities of hash table. The nature of it and everything will remain same. This is also one of the implementation of hash table. Everything, functionality, nature, and everything will remain same. The only difference is sorted list comes with one additional functionality. That functionality will take care of arranging your data automatically in some particular order. It will take care of sorting your data. That is only the difference. If you want your data has to be sorted automatically in the collection, if that has to be stored in some particular order in the collection, then better make use of sorted list. When Microsoft has introduced their earlier versions like 2.0, 1.0, that time sorted list was not there. This has been introduced in the larger versions. So if at all you need to arrange your data in some particular order, better make use of sorted list rather than using your hash table. If there is no requirement of sorting your data, then better go with a hash table because it is a lightweight functionality coming compared to sorted list. So what is the difference between these two? Both are same. Sorted list has also been derived from hash table, but the only difference is sorted list comes with one additional functionality that will take care of arranging your data automatically. So whenever you insert any item into your collection, okay. So I'm going to just replace it with hash table. There is no change. There's no change. I'm just replacing hash table with sorted list. That's it. Functionality and everything is going to be same. And each entry of sorted list is also considered as a dictionary entry. What is the type of sorted list entry? That is also one of the dictionary entry. So each entry of sorted list is also considered as a dictionary entry. So whenever you write for each tuple all elements of sorted list, again that same type has to be specified because both are same in nature. The only difference is sorted list is having some additional functionality. Those functionalities will be taking care of arranging your data, sorting your data in some order. Okay, so if I use sorted list in place of hash table, so what will happen? So my data will be arranged in some particular order. See, first I'm going to enter Satyam, theater name in Ika. S. Aradhana theater. Jonathan Garage. Yes. Cinemax. Some Spider-Man. Yes. Prasad's. Some Iron Man. No. Now see. They've entered Aradhana Theatre as third entry. See. First we have entered Satyam. Next Aradhana. Next Cinemax. Did you write any logic to arrange this data in ascending order? No. See. Aradhana has been stored first. Next Cinemax. Next Prasad. Next Satyam. So data has been stored in some ascending order. So every time, whenever you insert a new item, so what SortedList will do? Every time it will try to rearrange the data in some particular order. Once the new item comes to that collection, it will start comparing it with all the existing items to make sure all those items are arranged in the proper order. So that sort operation will be triggered. The sort operation will be triggered for each and every new item. So every time whenever a new item comes, so it will take care of rearranging the data in ascending order. So that is the advantage of SortedList. So you don't have to write any logic. So to get them sorted in ascending order. So that is the difference between HashTable and SortedList. Any questions, guys, so far? Okay. What is the best advantage of HashTable? It is a linked list collection. Second advantage, your data will be stored based on key, not an index. So whenever you want to pull any new item, any item from your collection, you'll have to just supply only key, not the index. And third thing is it is a type safe collection. So it allows you to store any type of key, any type of value. Good. And at the same time, as we have seen so many advantages, but at the same time, we also have identified one more disadvantage, that is, it is non-type safe collection. It is a non-type safe collection. It means in one way it is advantage. It allows you to store any type of data, but in another angle, the data will not be stored in the original format. Internally, it will be converted into object format. So every time when you try to pull your item, so what will happen? The item is going to come in the form of object. You cannot see your data in original format. That's why every time again it has to be converted back to your original format. So a lot of conversions takes place while inserting as well as fetching your data back to your process. So boxing and unboxing will take place in case of non-type safe collection, right? So in another angle, there is one of the disadvantage. So to overcome that problem, so what C# has done, they have introduced another powerful collection that is called dictionary. Dictionary. When you talk about a dictionary, the functionality of dictionary and the nature of dictionary is very similar to your hash table. There is no difference. The only difference is hash table is a non-type safe collection. Dictionary is a type safe collection. Dictionary is like your list and array list, like your array list and list. Hash table is not a type safe collection, whereas dictionary is a type safe collection. Many interviewers will ask this question: what is the difference between array and array list? Array list and list, hash table and dictionary. So what is the difference between these two? In dictionary also, data will be stored based on key. Dictionary is also one of the linked list implementation, like your hash table. But what is the difference between hash table and dictionary? Hash table is not a type safe collection where your data will not be stored in the original format. Data will be converted into some other different format. So a lot of conversions takes place there. Those problems has been overcome using dictionary. Dictionary is a type safe collection. The type of key and type of value should be defined at the time of declaration. In case of dictionary, it is a type safe collection. So the type of key and type of value should be defined at the time of declaration. Once the type is defined, It allows you to store only that similar type of keys, similar type of values. Basically, dictionary holds collection of keys of similar data type and collection of keys of similar data, collection of values of similar data type. So the data type and data will be stored in the original format. So no conversion is required while storing your data into the collection as well as fetching data from your collection. So that is the difference between your hash table and dictionary. And each entry of hash table is considered as a dictionary. What is the type of hash table element? Dictionary entry. Each entry of your hash table is called as dictionary entry. But in dictionary, each entry of a dictionary is considered as key value pair. The type of entry. The type of entry in hash table is called as dictionary entry. The type of entry in dictionary is called as. To accommodate your dictionary entry, they have designed one more special data type that is called key value pair. Okay, so I'm just going to replace. I'm going to use that same example to explain this. In place of this, I'm going to use dictionary. Dictionary. See, you will have to specify. As I said, it is a type safe collection. So the type of key and type of value that is going to be stored into your collection should be mentioned at the time of declaration. So in our case, we are going to store data name as key and movie name as value. So both are string only. The key type can be anything, value type can be anything. And key type can be different from value type. And same is equal to new. That's it. What will happen? Once the key and value types are defined, it is going to accept only the similar type of keys and similar type of values. Let's say I mentioned my key type as string. If I try to store integer number as a key, it won't be accepted. As I said, it is a type safe collection. The type of key and type of value should be defined at the time of declaration only. Once it gets defined, it is going to be constant. It accepts only similar type of keys, similar type of values. And internal data will be stored in the original format. Your type is going to be safe. So no conversion is required. So because sometimes why I'm using the keyword called safe. Sometimes you might get lost data in case of conversions. If at all you're going to convert data from one type to another type, again one type to another type. So in that conversion, sometimes your data may be lost. If you're going to convert data from one type to another type, so another type, the target type may not be having the features which our source is having, right? So in that case, your old data, your complete data cannot be accommodated into the destination type. So there, you can see some damage in your data. So that's why I'm using this word safe. In case of non-type safe, there might be some, data loss, data damages. So in case of type safe, your type will be stored in the original format. Your data will be stored in the original type. So that's why no conversion is required. You don't have to convert it into any type. So that's why your data will be safe. Right. Phone. Hello, can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost power supply. That's why I'm asking you. Okay, anyhow, connected through mobile only. Yeah. Okay, so that is the difference between your hash table and dictionary. So I'm going to use same example. In dictionary also, the each entry is going to have combination of key and value, and the data will be stored based on key. But coming to here, each entry of your dictionary is considered as key value pair. Yes. Just now I said, like, key type can be different from value type. It may or may not be same. You can have key type as integer and value type as string. So both can be different. Key value pair. key value pair. Here also you can define. You need to define the type of key and type of value. Okay. And dictionary also, in case of dictionary also, so by default dictionary will not be provided with any sorting functionality. In case of dictionary, the sorting has to be done manually by the developer. No. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Yes, but the sorting functionality is not available with your dictionary, because in case of HashTable we have an alternate option, that is SortedList. But in case of dictionary, you don't have that alternate option, so you'll have to write some logic so to get them sorted in whatever the order that you are looking for, whether it is ascending or descending. Okay. Okay, so this is something about. Can you hear me, guys? Current way. So, guys, can you hear me? Correct. Charging పెట్టుకోరా. Maddie. Maddie. Yo. Charging. Fast. అమ్మని పెట్టాను బా, అమ్మని లేపు. Guys, can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Guys, can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, I lost power supply. Even my mobile charging was also over. I just got my power back. Okay. Okay. So this is something about your array list, hash table, sorted list, and dictionary. Okay. So let's move towards the next concept, that is stack and queue. Stack and queue. So you might have implemented these concepts in your graduation. So let's move to the first one, that is stack. Stack. This is also kind of collection, but it's a logical collection. So what is a stack? The best example for your stack is library. The best example for your stack is a library, right? So in your library, if you want to arrange all your books one by one, first you have to keep your first book. On top of that, you'll have to put second book, third book, fourth book, fifth book, sixth book. If I want to take first one, can I take it directly? No. First you can see the last one. Only the last one can be taken out first. And the first one is going to be taken out last, right? So always when you talk about a stack structure looks like this. Yes, it follows LIFO strategy. Only last element can be taken out first. Like the best example is your library. Your library, your library cart, your book cart. Okay, so there will be so many examples. Okay, so when you talk about stack, in stack we have both type safe and non-type safe implementations provided in C#. Based on your requirement, you can use any one of those. When you talk about a stack, the best example for stack, can you provide me any real-time example for stack? Where exactly it can be used? The real-time example. I need real-time example. Don't go for this card kind of thing, like like library and all these things. Try to link up this with any one of your real-time event. Okay, let's say I'm going to sell some products online, right? So whenever you select any product, every product will have its own expiry date, right? Every product will have its own expiry date. As per the, according to my product, the product should be used before 6 months. So whatever the items that are, nearing to your expiry dates should be on the top, Let's say your product number 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Product number 10 is having 6 months expiry date. You can use it for more 6 months. 20 is having only 5 months. 30 is having 4 months. 40 is having 3 months. 50 is having only more 2 months. So in that case, if you just use stack concept to arrange your products, so what will be done now? The product which is nearing to your expiry date will be picked first, because that should be sold first. You should sell that item first. If you pick the first one, so what will happen? you may or may not sell this item because it is reaching to your expiry date. If you keep it for more 2 months in the cart, so what will happen? It will reach that expiry date, so your product will get expired. So nobody will purchase it. So whatever the project is aged, so better keep it on the top. So in that case, if you make use of stack concept, so what will happen? All the new products will be in the down, and whatever is nearing to your expiry date will be on the top. So when the user try to pick the item, so what will happen? Only the top item will be placed in this cart. So that's one of the example, but there will be many real-time scenarios where stack can be applicable. Okay, but ultimately when you talk about a stack, it follows LIFO strategy, last in first out. Okay, so mostly when it comes to online shopping carts, we'll be implementing stack concept to arrange your products. Okay, so when you talk about stack collection, always it follows LIFO strategy. Only last element can be taken out first. LIFO, last in first out. So only top element can be taken out first. Whatever is inserted first, that will be taken out last. Whatever is inserted last, that will only be taken out first. So it follows that strategy. So this is a kind of concept, to pick your top element automatically. So there you'll have to use stack concept. Okay, especially in the online shopping carts. So they'll be keeping all the expired. So whatever the items that are, reaching to that expire, nearing to that expire date. So those very close to expire date, those items will be on the top, and all new items will be in the bottom. So that what will happen? So whenever you select any item, so what will happen? The only the top item will be picked first. So in that way, you can sell all your products. If you keep that, the first item, top item in the bottom, so what will happen? Always, when the customer try to pick the item, he'll always, get a chance to pick only new item. So the old item will be in the last. So once it reaches expiry date, you cannot sell it to the customer. You'll have to just take it out from the stack. So there will be a big loss to the vendor. So that is the reason. So mostly they'll be using stack concept while arranging online shopping carts. Okay. Okay. So when you talk about stack, stack is also one of the linked list implementation. It comes with, so linked list in the sense, you don't have to specify any end limit. Even number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime. In case of stack, we have two different implementations provided: type safe and non-type safe. Dictionary is non-type safe, HashTable is type safe. But in case of stack, they provided two different implementations: type safe implementation, non-type safe implementation. Based on your requirement, you can choose any one of those. When you talk about stack, stack comes with two different methods: push and pop. Push and pop, like add and remove. Push is nothing but add, pop is nothing but remove. Whenever you want to insert a new element into your stack, you have to use push. Whenever you want to remove an existing element from your stack, you have to use pop method. And if you want to know the size of your collection, same method, count, has to be used. So let's try to implement a simple example using stack. Stack. So as I said, we have two implementation. The first one is non-generic implementation. Second one is generic implementation. I mean, first one is non-type safe. Second one is type safe. You can use any one of these. Stack some product list is equal to new stack. string choice is equal to yes, while choice is equal to s, string product name, string expired date, whatever is. Ask user to enter the element console dot write line. Please enter product name and expired date or expired in months. P name, read product name, console dot read line, and expired date console dot read line. Now what has to be done? This entry has to be inserted into your stack. What is your stack name? Product list. As I said, whenever you want to insert a new item, you would use push. And push inserts only one item at a time. That item can be a single data member or a collection or class or object, anything. And I'm going to insert product name plus comma expiry date. I'm just concatenating these two and inserting it as a single element. It will be displayed something like product name comma expiry date. And get the choice. Do you want to add one more product? Console dot write line. Do you want to add one more product to the cart? Read the choice entered by the user. So choice is equal to console dot read line. So based on this, it will be repeated only those many times. Okay. Now let's try to implement a pop operation. To delete the item from your stack, you don't have to write any logic. If you just call pop method, so that will take care of deleting the elements one by one. So as I said, while deleting it, it always deletes the last element first, because it follows LIFO strategy. Only last element can be taken out first, because your first item will be in the bottom, right? So it cannot be taken out first. So always only last item can be taken out first, and first will become last. Console dot write line. Your product list is here. While so once you start removing the elements one by one, so what will happen? Let us assume that there are 10 elements in your stack. Initially, the size of your collection is going to be 10. Once you remove the first element, the size will be decreased. It will become 9. Next, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So once the size becomes 0, so what does it mean? The collection is empty. Then you should stop your process. So while product list dot count is greater than 0, it means if the stack is not empty, then start removing the items one by one. Whenever you want to remove any item, you'll have to call another method called pop. Pop. So pop always removes only top element. It removes that element and returns that element back to the user. If you want to know like which item has been removed from your stack, just print this. Console dot write line product removed from the stack is, just display this. Call pop method, what it will do, it will remove the element and whatever is removed that will also be returned. So whatever is written that is going to be just displayed over here. Pop. Next, this will remove one element from your stack and I would like to know, so what are the remaining elements available in my stack? What are the remaining products are available in my stack? So console dot write line remaining products available in the stack are I'm just using for each, or you can use anything. For each string item in, what is the collection name? Product list. Console dot write that's it. So whenever you want to insert a new item into your stack, you'll have to call push. Whenever you want to remove an existing item from your stack, you have to call pop method. So what pop will do, it removes only one item at a time, and that is going to be a top element because it follows LIFO strategy. Last in, first out. Only last element can be deleted, or last element can be taken out first. So that's why whenever you call pop, so every time it removes only the top element and it returns also the element which has been removed from the stack. So just to track the information, we are just printing it. Like I'd like to know like which product has been removed from the stack. That's why I wrote this line. Product removed from the stack is call pop method. And I'd like to know, so what is left in the collection. So that's why the remaining products available in the stack are, I'm just, whatever is there in the product list, I'm just, looping through those and, printing those elements. Okay. Just run this. Please enter a product name and expiry date. Product name is let's say some product one, P1. Expiry date, it will be expired in 6 months. Yes. P2, it will be expired in 5 months. Next, P3. Oh, I didn't enter the choice. Sorry guys. P1 will be expired in 6 months. Yes. P2 will be expired in 5 months. Yes. P3 will be expired in 4 months. Yes. P4 will be expired in 3 months. Yes. And P5 will be expired in 2 months. Yes. And P6 will be expired in 1 month. No. Now see, now you can see your list. See, now P1 has been stored in the bottom. So in case of stack also, the data will be stored based on index. See, the last item has been stored on the top, right? So here for P1 we are having 6 months, more 6 months time. So you don't have to worry about it. Your time for 6 months, you have a lot of time to sell your product. Coming to P2, so P2 should be sold fast compared to P1. But coming to P3, it is having less expiry time. It is having only 4 months. So don't worry about P5, P2. First sell P3. But coming to P4, it is having only 3 months. So first we need to sell P4, then P3. But coming to P5, it is having only 2 months. But coming to P6, it is having only 1 month. So that is the reason, they'll be arranging the products based on the expiry date. So in this case, your stack concept will be more useful. So what it will do, it will automatically arrange data based on some LIFO strategy. Now what will happen whenever a customer try to pick the item, now which item will go first? So whatever the item which is having less expiry date, so that item will be taken out first. So what your cart will be safe. So coming to second item, you have 2 months time. So whenever next customer selects next item, only this item will be taken out first. So this way, you can manage all your products in more efficient way. Okay, so let's see. Now we are going to use pop. Let's see which item will be taken out first. We didn't write any logic to delete the elements. We are making use of some built-in method called pop. Let's see how it behaves. Okay. Now the count is, what a product list count? It is 6. We are having 6 elements. Now we are going to call pop for the first time. Is 6 is greater than 0? Yes, condition is true. It will go inside of the loop. Now it is going to remove the first element. So which one will be removed first? So whatever the item which has been inserted, lastly, only that item is going to be removed first. I'm just removing this. See, here you can see. Product removed from the stack is P6, which is having only 1 month expiry date. We are safe because it is very close to the expiry date, right? So if nobody will purchase it for next 1 month, obviously you'll have to take it out from your cart because nobody will purchase it because it has already reached the expiry date. So that is the reason that should go out first. See, it has been taken out first. And remaining products available in the stack are P5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next, in the second iteration, whenever the second user requests for your product, what will happen? So whatever is on the top, yes, again, so this is nearing your expiry date. This is having only 2 months, so this should be sold first. See, product removed from the stack is P5, and the remaining elements P4, P3, P2, P1. Next, in the next iteration, it will keep on decreasing your size. So the product removed from the stack is P4, and the rest we have only 3 products available in the stack. The next iteration, product removed from the stack is P3. P3 is gone. Then we have only P2 and P1. In the next iteration, so P2 is removed. We have only P1. In the next iteration, there are no items. So stack is empty. This is the concept of stack. Any questions, guys? Any questions so far? If no, so let's move to the next and last concept for the day. So that is going to be queue. Queue. So queue always follows first in, first out. The best example is supermarket, right? If at all you are going to purchase some products in the supermarket, so if you want to, go for a billing, if you want to, bill your all of the products, so you have to stand in the queue. Who will be served first? Whoever comes first, only that person will be served first. Whoever comes last, that person will be served last. So it follows FIFO strategy. It contains 2 open end, front and rear. So it follows FIFO strategy, first in, first out. Whoever comes first, they will only be served first. This is also one of the linked list implementation. In queue also the data will be stored based on index, but the beauty of this is it is a linked list implementation. And whenever you want to implement a concept like queue, especially your movie, like your theaters, supermarkets, and in the ticket booking, like railway ticket booking, your flight ticket booking, right? And your checkout in the airport. So everywhere you'll be following the concept called queue, right? So there you don't have to write a separate logic to implement the queue concept. One second, guys. So in case of queue, so queue is also one of the linked list implementation. So the queue concept will be automatically implemented by this collection. In case of stack, if at all you need to implement the concept of stack, LIFO strategy, you don't have to write. If you want, you can do it manually, but they will have to write lot of logic. Just to avoid some burden on the developer, so C# has implemented and provided a predefined component called stack, where if at all you need to implement a concept like stack in any one of your business requirement, so just you can make use of stack, predefined stack. If at all you need to implement a concept called queue, let's say queue will be useful in many online applications. Let's say especially if at all you are going to design a customer care application, right? So many people will be calling at a time, right? So you'll be getting so many calls at a time. So there obviously you need to maintain a queue. So whoever calls first, only that person should be served first, and next one should be served next, right? So there you'll have to implement a concept called queue. So all calls should be arranged in the queue format, and first one should be served first, last one should be served last. So there you'll have to implement a concept called queue, especially in the customer care applications. Okay, customer care applications or banking transactions. So in many places we'll be implementing queue concept, right? There's, for example, if I tell you are going to purchase products online, let's say the product is out of stock, but you requested for it. So in that case, there also you have to maintain the queue of the customer request, right? Whoever requested first, so as soon as the product is available, so whoever request for the product first, so that person should only be served. The priority should be given to the first person. Okay, so in many places you will be implementing a concept called queue. Okay, so when you talk about queue, it follows FIFO strategy, first in, first out. So how to insert a new item into the queue collection and how to delete an existing item. So like your push and pop, here we have two more methods provided in queue. Those are NQ and DQ. NQ and DQ. So NQ is nothing but add, DQ is nothing but remove. And apart from these two, it also comes with count method. Count method. So whenever you want to insert a new item to your queue, you would use NQ. When you want to remove an existing item, you would use DQ. If you want to know the size of your collection, you would use count method. Okay. So I'm just going to reuse this tag. In case of tag, I'm going to use queue. Queue product list is equal to new queue. Okay. In case of push, I'm going to use NQ. And in case of pop, I'm going to use DQ. That's all. Not product list, or you can just make use of a request queue. Let's say our product is out of stock, but still customers are sending so many requests for our product. So you'll be facing this kind of issue, especially with your online applications, right? You wanted to purchase it, but unfortunately the product is not available, it is out of stock, but you need it, you need to purchase it. So in this case, what you will do, you'll just put some requests. They will take all the requests and put them in the queue. So whoever comes first, that request will be served first. Okay, so whatever it is. Just run your application. So this scenario is not applicable. I'm just taking, as it is. Someone, yes. Okay. So product removed from the stock queue. Okay, didn't remove this text is P1. So the first one will be removed first. See, P1 has been inserted first, right? See, first we inserted P1, right? So it follows FIFO strategy. First come, first serve, first out. So whatever the item is inserted first, so that will be served first, that will be removed first. So P1 is removed first. Next P2. Next P3. Next P4. So this is a concept of queue. So any questions, guys? Okay. So please do practice all these collections. From tomorrow, we are going to start discussing classes. Okay, good. So we'll start with classes. So going forward, again, we'll be, we come back to, collections, and, again, we'll be discussing so many things with the collections. That we'll discuss it tomorrow. What is the previous? Okay, yeah, tell me, what is that? Ravinder, can you please speak up?
Yeah, n-dimensional array, like you said to change the, what is how you will define that. I changed according to your suggestion, but still it's showing some errors.
What is that error?
I'll just show you.
I've shown you in the programming environment itself, right? Yesterday I wrote a program and shown you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a code, but you changed a few things, what can be done so that it gets executed.
Can you
But
share your
it's
screen?
still not working. Yeah.
What is that? So can you please move it up little up?
Can,
Row size.
can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's check it out. Like you asked me to change this one. Yeah,
Go,
row
go.
sizes and
Okay, one
column
second.
size.
Int row sizes, int column size, my collection, and the number of rows. My collection is equal to number of rows, row sizes. So where you are capturing this? In white.
At the
Here row sizes.
next logic.
See, here you did not get the value of number of rows and number of columns, and you are trying to initialize it.
Here I wrote here enter the number of rows. Now
Sorry.
that I'm reading here, number of rows is equal to, you can see 19th line.
Enter number of rows. Number of rows for your outer row one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But here inside each row, you are going to put a two-dimensional array.
Yeah, that I wrote in a for loop. I wrote a loop.
No, man. Just try to understand this. Okay.
Okay.
Inside each row, you are going to put a complete 2D, right? Again,
Yeah.
2D will
Yes.
have its own number of rows and columns.
Yes.
These two should be initialized inside this loop For each and every row, go to 0th row. Ask user to define number of rows and number of columns and initialize those arrays. Once it's done, you can go to second row. Again, ask him to define number of rows and number of columns. So this should be placed inside of this. Wait,
let's check this one. Like
no, it is wrong. It is wrong. The logic is wrong.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
When
Yeah, I did requested for your keyboard. Can you give me the access? I'll take the control and show you.
Yeah, I didn't get any request, I guess.
No, I just requested for your keyboard.
Sharing, 1 second. 1 second.
Okay, 1 second. Arvind?
Yeah.
One second, I will again request it for that.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to request for the mouse and keyboard, okay?
Okay. Okay.
What happened?
No, I couldn't get any request.
No, man, I sent you the request.
It's asking only to share screen.
No, it seems you declined it.
1 second.
Can you right click on your name? They will find an option like give the control. Can you see that option?
It says mute me, edit name and email. That's it.
Okay, do one thing. Okay, I'll guide you. Just scroll it up.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me the line number so that will be easy.
Go up.
Okay.
To the declaration section. So here number of rows is nothing but you're defining how many rows to be there in your jogged array. Right?
Yeah.
So that is what number of rows. Inside each row, again you'll have to define the dimensions of that particular row. Like if at all you are going to place a 2D matrix, how many rows and how many columns to be there. So you need to take two more variables. Define two more variables.
Two more variables?
Yes. The sub rows, sub columns. Just can you uncomment those? Int sub rows, int sub columns. Okay. Now scroll it down. Here you'll have to specify only how many rows to be created in your jogged array. And inside each row, how many dimensions to be created. That should be specified in the for loop. Okay. Can you take out the last two lines? Row sizes is equal to and column size is equal to. Yes. No, don't remove that. Just cut that. Yes. And go inside the for loop. So here you are doing that. Here you are doing that. 1 second. Please enter number of sub rows and sub columns. So read sub rows and sub columns after the statement.
So should I write here sub rows and sub columns?
No. You haven't. First you need to read those values. Okay. So after that console.writeLine statement, press enter. Yeah, sub rows is equal to sub rows. First we need to read rows. Sub rows is equal to convert dot to into the return of console dot read line. No, man. Console dot read line. Next, sub columns is equal to sub columns is equal to same. Convert dot to into the return of.
Yeah.
Okay. Now remove that below two lines. Row sizes of row. Remove those. Oh, yeah, only those two lines. Okay. Now, have you defined the temp? Temp. Just above for loop, define the temporary matrix. No, it should be on the top of
Okay,
for loop.
above for loop. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now go to your loop. So after sub columns, press enter. After sub columns line, press enter. So here, see, first you have specified how many rows to be created in your jogged array, right? Now you
Yes.
started
Yes.
navigating through all those rows. Once the control comes to
Yes.
first row, here you have to ask user to enter number of dimensions to be created in this row, right? So this is the
Yes.
place where you'll have to ask user to enter how many rows and columns to be created inside first row, right? So
Yeah.
he has entered so many rows and how many columns to be created. Now what you have to do, you have to create a 2D matrix with these many rows and these many columns. So temp
Yeah.
is equal to new int of sub rows comma sub columns. Now what will happen? It will create a matrix with these many rows and these many columns. Now you'll have to ask user to enter those many elements. Enter.
Okay. In that.
Yes. Press enter. Now write a loop for s row int s row and sub row. S row is
Okay.
equal to 0. S row is less than sub rows s row plus plus. Enter. Write beginning and closing braces. Okay. Now for int s column is equal to sub columns. S column plus plus. S column plus plus. So here you'll have to ask user to, because are you following me? So
Yes.
go
Yes.
to
I
first
got you.
row, ask user to define number of dimensions to be created inside first row. So once he provide number of rows and column size, then create a 2D matrix with those many rows and those many columns. Now you'll have to ask user to enter those many elements. That's why you'll have to write one more loop to navigate between all rows and columns of that matrix. Here you have to ask user to
Okay.
enter element.
Okay.
Can you scroll it down? I can't see your screen. Scroll it down. Yes. Yeah, console.write line. Please enter an element. Now temp of s row comma s column. Temp of s row comma s column. is equal to convert dot 2 into 32 of console dot read line. Okay, done. So once your array is ready, that has to be placed into first row of your matrix. So my collection of row is equal to temp. Remove that new int something something. My collection of row is equal to temp. That's it. Priyanka and Rajita, you can also see this example. See what is doing. See first, it will go to first row. As I said, inside each row you can define a number of dimensions. You can store either single row or a 2D matrix. Now we are going to store a 2D matrix. So that's why first define a temporary 2D matrix. Now once it comes to first row, now you'll have to ask user to, because you want to store a 2D matrix. So that's why you should ask him to provide the dimensions of 2D matrix, like how many rows and how many columns to be there in the 2D. That is what we are asking. Ask him to provide number of rows and number of columns to be created in the 2D. And initialize your 2D matrix with those many rows and those many columns. Yes, so those many locations will be created inside your temporary 2D. Now ask him to enter those many elements and place them into respective locations. So once your temporary array is ready, now what has to be done? It has to be placed into first row of your jogged array. Next, when it comes to second iteration, when row is equal to 1. So again it will ask user to define dimensions for next 2D matrix. Same process will be repeated. It will ask user to enter those many elements. So once the second temp is ready, it will be placed into second row. So like this, in the same way, it will be repeated for all rows. Okay. And if you want to pull all the elements, again you will have to write that same structure. Okay.
Yes.
So copy that entire for loop, remove the below one, remove the below for loop, the second for loop. Yes, remove that. No, remove that complete for loop.
Complete for loop. I mean, logic is same. Just we need to
No,
change
remove
the
that. We'll just
values.
copy it from the first one.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
remove that. Because again you need to do the same thing, right? So that's why,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
remove that. And remove the below one also. Okay, so console.write line. No, okay. Just copy the above loop. Yeah, console.write line. Just put one statement like collection elements are, or my jogged elements are, in double quotes. అయ్యో ఫోన్ ఛార్జింగ్ పెట్టలే అది నువ్వేం చేస్తున్నావు ఇక్కడ
ఇప్పుడే చూసిన నేను చూసిన దాన్ని
హలో Arvind, can you hear me? Arvind, can you hear me? Hello? Arvind, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So why do you want to get the sub rows and sub columns again?
I mean, I just want to print the values
No,
in the
it is
same.
not required. Not
Okay.
required, because
Okay.
you already stored the elements into that jogged array. You are just going to print those elements, pull those elements.
Okay.
So why do you want to ask him to
Yeah,
again
this one.
specify number of, remove those things?
I mean, I forgot to
Here you'll
remove
have to
that.
just get
Okay.
that array from your go to first row, get the first 2D. So temp is equal to my collection of row. No, in the below, just modify that existing temp. Modify the
Okay.
first line. Temp is equal to. So why you do want to initialize it again and again? Just go to first row, get the first 2D and place it into temporary 2D. Temp is equal to my collection of row. That's all. Now what it will do? It will go to first row, get the first 2D and keeps in temp. You just need to play around only temp. So what it will do? My collection of 0. So whatever is there in the first row. So what is there in the first row? 2D matrix that will be placed into a temporary variable. You just need to print this. So int s row is equal to 0. S row is less than, here just keep it. No, don't write anything. So now it will go to first row, get the first 2D and keeps it in temp. Now your first 2D is there in the temp. Now you need to pull items from only temp, right? So that's the reason you'll have to write a loop to navigate between all the locations of your temporary 2D. So that's why we are writing a loop. So s row is equal to 0. It is less than, what is that? Sub rows of row. Sub rows of row. What is the array name that you have specified?
Yes, row, I guess. No.
Have you specified any array here? Oh, row sizes and column sizes. Do one thing. Yet at the same time, place these values into row size and column sizes.
Okay. At the
What you need to do here, just
while accepting values on
just follow my instruction. One second. Don't go. After initializing your outer array, jogged array, go to next line. After this, go to line number 23.
23. Okay.
Yes. So here user has specified how many rows to be there, right? So you need to capture the dimensions of each and every row, right? So we are going to keep those dimensions in one of the array, that is row sizes and column size array, right? So row size is equal to new int of number of rows. There should not be any space between int and next. Column sizes is equal to same new int of, because we need to capture a row size dimension, column size dimension for those many rows, number of rows. Okay, so now go to your first loop. After temp is equal new int of, after 31 line, press enter. So keep those dimensions into your array so that it will be used in the future process. So that will be useful in the further process. Row sizes.
So I should write.
Yeah, row sizes
same
of
thing.
R. Row sizes of, that is array, right? Yeah. Row sizes of R. I mean first row is equal to sub rows next. Column size of R row is equal to sub columns. So first row dimensions will be stored into these two arrays so that this can be reused in the further process. Okay, now go down. Now go to your next loop. Okay, here you can reuse them. So what is that? Row sizes of row? Row sizes. So it will give you row size of 0 means first row dimension. Column sizes of row. That's it. So here you're not reading, you'll have to print it. Just remove that temp part, remove that complete line. Console.write line, not write line, use write. Console.write temp of is row comma is column. So after that, plus give some space. Plus in double quotes give some space. Okay, semicolon, give some space. Okay, and once it comes outside of the loop, outside of inner loop, you need to write console.write line to divert the control to next line. Yeah, console.write line. That's it.
Oh, this is you want me to write outside the
Inner loop.
my whole 2D matrix?
Outside the inner loop, console.write line.
So it comes
Outside the inner loop, not outer loop. Outside the inner loop. Outside the inner loop, yes. Console dot write line. Just it's. That's it. Don't put anything inside that. It will take you to the next line. Because next row should be displayed in the next line, right? So that's why we are writing this.
Yes.
Now you can run it. And it is okay. And remove console.read. And I think it is something is missing. Scroll it down all the way. Console.read should be the last statement you kept inside the loop. And here for loop needs to be closed. Here you need to give one more closing braces. So after that keep console.read. After closing outer for loop, console.read. And one more thing is missing. One more is missing. This is end of the main, end of the class, end of the namespace. There should be one more.
So,
right. Okay, Ravinder. Okay.
Two rows, one column. Yeah, got it.
Okay, fine. Hello guys, we'll meet tomorrow at same time. Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem.